everybody, it's Michelle. Welcome back to my channel for another video. Today's video has been highly anticipated for literally just me, but I'm really hoping that you guys will enjoy it too. So, drum roll please. I'm going to be talking about how I made the yellow faux brick wall behind me that you're going to see in the background of all of my videos. So this was a huge project that I worked on, and I really wasn't expecting it to be as big of a challenge, I guess, than it actually was. I don't think that I constructed that sentence correctly. Anyways, I'm going to talk to you guys about the process of making it, what it was like, and why I made it in the first place. So I was really looking for something to brighten up my area. This wall is right next to my bed and also now obviously is home to my filming space. So I had ideas for making an accent wall, just painting it a certain color, probably yellow either way because it's my favorite color. But I wanted to do something a little bit more creative, and again, I wanted it to be something that I could really be proud of that I made myself. So I was going down the rabbit hole that is YouTube, and I was looking for a couple different ideas, and I actually stumbled upon a video that I had watched a few months back by a channel called the Sorry Girls. If you guys have never seen their channel, I highly recommend checking them out. They make these really amazing DIYs, and they're Canadian. I don't know what that has to do with anything. Go Canada. They have a video making a faux brick wall just like the one behind me, and the reason why they made it was because one of them was renting, I guess, and they couldn't damage the walls in any way, and they also wanted something that wasn't permanent, so that's why I did it as well.
Your girl has commitment issues.
No, it was more that this is my parents' house still, and I really didn't want to damage anything or put anything up that would be like an eyesore that they would have to fix up later, so I thought this was a great solution. So in addition to following the Sorry Girls tutorial, I also followed a tutorial from one of my favorite channels called Best Dressed. So the girl Ashley who runs that channel is really great. She has a lot of cool fashion videos. You should absolutely check her out as well. In her video, she follows the Sorry Girl tutorial as well. Sorry girl? Sorry. Oh my god. Get it together. She also followed the Sorry Girls tutorial, and because she lives in the US, I decided that if I followed both of their tutorials in tandem, it would actually help me out because the Sorry Girls, like I said, are from Canada, so I was able to take Best Dressed tutorial of how she took their tutorial and turned it into her own.
This isn't making any sense.
What I mean is, she followed the original tutorial but used materials and went to stores in the US, so I knew that if I followed her tutorial, I could still use their techniques but also be able to find the exact same things that I needed in the US. Did that make sense? I don't know why my brain is just... I may have lost a tiny bit of my brain capacity when dealing with the fumes that you guys are going to find out are associated with making this wall, and that's why I'm struggling. Alright guys, that's enough rambling, so without any further ado, let's get on to the video. To complete this project, you are going to need the following items. I forgot my list upstairs. Oh. Looks like I'll be right back. Oh. Oh no. Oh god. Oh. That's the biggest spider I've ever seen. Oh my god, there are two. It is spooky season after all. I guess I don't have to decorate since I already have spiders. We can continue. The items that you're going to need for this project are styrofoam insulation, latex paint, primer, a pencil and a Sharpie, a yardstick, an X-Acto knife, a soldering iron, a mask to keep out fumes, paintbrushes and paint rollers, a tape measure, command Velcro strips, a space outside to do this project, and last but not least, you guys are going to need a lot of time to finish this project. This project took a lot longer than I was expecting. It absolutely was not difficult, but it was a lot more time consuming than I had originally planned. Oh my god. So the styrofoam insulation, the latex paint, and the primer that I used can all be purchased at your local hardware store. I bought mine at Home Depot. I didn't exactly have paintbrushes and paint rollers for using actual wall paint, so I went to another local hardware store that I have in my town called Harbor Freight Tools, and they have really discounted prices. I also bought a massive pack of command strips because I knew that I was going to need a ton of them, so I actually went to my local BJ's. You could probably get this at any wholesale store that sells really bulk amounts of items. The other items like pencils and Sharpies, yardstick, X-Acto knife, all those things I already had. The one exception for this, if anybody wants to follow this video, I don't know if I recommend that, but I actually already owned a soldering iron, and I also had a tip that was exactly the shape that I needed for the project, which you guys will see in a little bit. Any soldering iron with a tip similar to the one that I end up using in this video will work just fine. Oh my god, the phone is ringing. Don't these people know that I am busy? The very first step is to measure out your wall. So I made myself like a little diagram using the tape measure, and I measured every single little piece of my wall. So my wall, I actually live in the basement of my parents' house. That sounds so glamorous. So because I live in the basement, I have this tiny basement window at the top of my wall that I knew I was gonna have to account for when making the wall. And I also have a baseboard radiator that I had to cut out space for as well. So once I had all the measurements, I laid everything out in the garage on a tarp. And the reason why I did it out there was because you needed a space that was at least the size of your wall so that you could see the entire thing laid out. So it just made the most sense to do it there. And it was windy outside, and I had panels flailing all about, and it was not ideal. So the garage was a better space. So once we had that all planned out, we originally started with an idea that was in the Sorry Girls in the Best Dress tutorial video. Well, I actually used a combination of both. So what the Sorry Girls did was they took a block of wood to measure out the size of their bricks, and I didn't have anything like that. So in Best Dressed video, she used cardboard to do it, but she was really exact with her measurements, and apparently I was not. So my dad started on one and I started on another one, and it just the lines didn't match up, which is like the one thing that you need a brick wall to do. So we entirely scratched that idea and we switched to the yardstick. That's why I recommended using a yardstick in this. So we just measured exactly how tall we wanted each brick to be, made lines that distance apart, and then we just made an alternating pattern between panels. So obviously at the top you have all the bricks, let's say, lined up, and then below the next, oh my god, how do you explain this? Alright, so my camera's dying. We're doing really great at this whole YouTube thing. I don't know why I said we, it's entirely my fault.
You guys are great.
Alright guys, well, no surprise here, my camera died right as I said it was going to, so I'm gonna have to do the rest of this part of the video voiceover style, so strap in. So what I was trying to explain in the video was just the pattern of the bricks. I highly recommend checking out one of the other videos that I talked about because they do a much better job of explaining it, and my brain can't handle the description of brick pattern for some reason. I had to cut some of the pieces shorter because my ceiling wasn't as tall as two of these pieces put together. So what I did was cut them with an X-Acto knife, and it worked out just fine. So after I had that all lined out, it was the most important part of the project. So really glad that this was the part that my camera decided to stop filming. So what I did was take a soldering iron with this shaped tip. I only used this one because it was very similar to the ones used in the videos I was referencing. So if you have something similar to this or can find something similar to this, it'll work just fine. You just don't want it to be too small or else it won't make the kind of thick lines that you need. So I took an old piece of wood that I found in my garage and I used it sort of as a straight edge, and I went along all of the lines that we had drawn out originally, and that's how I got my brick pattern melted in. This is the part that you absolutely have to do outside or in a really well ventilated area because the fumes are terrible. I was only half joking when I talked about getting brain damage from this because I don't know if you could get brain damage from this. It was pretty bad. So the mask I'm wearing in this video, as fashionable as it is actually not at all the kind of mask you're supposed to use. I knew this and I used it anyway because it was all I had, but technically you should be getting a mask that will actually help eliminate the toxins in the air when you're breathing in. So I think I'm okay, so maybe you don't need it, but again, that's terrible advice. You should definitely get it. I'm so worried that people are gonna die because I'm so bad at giving this advice. The melting is definitely the most fun part, and it's what finally makes all of your pieces look like bricks. So a technique that I took from the other two videos were that they suggested adding little nicks and things in the bricks to make them look more authentic. I actually made a couple of these accidentally because you have to be really careful. The soldering iron is so hot it will melt right away, so be very careful with it. I also used a technique that they suggested where I went over the corners of some of the bricks, and that helped make them have this sort of chipped effect. Again, you're going to want to use this sparingly. And this is when I realized that my camera had stopped recording and I put in a new battery, so I'll turn it back to the video. So long, everyone.
So after that, I left them all to dry? No. I put up a mock version of the wall before I painted it just so that I could see if it fit on the wall, and it fit perfectly, and I was so excited and I couldn't wait to paint them yellow. After that, it was time to paint. I bought white primer because a guy at the hardware store told me that styrofoam absorbs paint like you wouldn't believe. So he suggested covering the wall in primer first and then not needing as much paint to go on top of it, which was amazing. We used a large brush and a small brush. The large brush was to brush over the brick's surface, and the small brush was to go in between the lines to make sure we had fully got everything. So once everything was primed, we let it dry, and that's when we used the paint. So the paint that I used was actually a Glidden paint, which is a much cheaper version. Shout out again to the guy from Home Depot who told me that he could give me a cheap version since I wasn't painting an actual wall. So this paint was like $10, which was amazing. And I'm gonna give you guys the prices of everything as a breakdown at the end, so stay tuned. I used the little rollers that I showed you guys before, and that's how I painted the surface. I found that the best way to paint was to paint over the lines in the bricks, because then you were less likely to get paint in those lines, because obviously I had to go back and do a couple touch-ups here and there with the primer again at the end, but this made it so there were not nearly as many touch-ups as I was expecting. After that, they were done. All of my pieces were done, and I was so excited. They looked so pretty, but they were still all laying on the floor in the garage. So what I had to do from there was bring them downstairs and put them up. So I used my hefty pack of command strips, and I put command pieces on every corner of each piece, which is why I used so many. Highly recommend when you're using command strips, cut them in half, because each one is meant to hold like 16 pounds, and each of these styrofoam blocks I don't even think is a pound, so you can get so much more use out of your command strips if you cut them. So please enjoy this time lapse of me putting the whole wall up. It was so rewarding to film this after I'd finally finished everything, because I'd worked so hard on it and spent so much time on it. And yeah, this is the final product. I'm so happy with it. Honestly, guys, I really couldn't be more proud of myself. I know that sounds
Really obnoxious.
I really didn't think it was going to be this easy, and I definitely didn't think it was going to come out that great. Like I said though, what you guys have to take into account is that this project takes a long time. I was thinking that I'd be able to get this project done in like 2 or 3 days. No. In total, I think the work itself was about 5 days, but because I do other things, I had to dedicate about an entire week to this project. And in addition to that, it's still not done. So there are still lines in this wall that need to be touched up now that the pieces are all put together. I have to go back in with primer and redo the lines, and I have to cover up the lines that connect the pieces here with more yellow paint just to help make the whole thing look more cohesive. But at a glance, it really looks great, and I just put it up and haven't had the time to do it. I will update you guys when I finally do fix it up so it's perfect. I'm so excited about it. It's seriously one of, I just think, the coolest things that I've done, and I'm really glad that I was able to make a video about it, sharing how I did it, and so you guys can go out and do the same thing. Use my techniques. Paint your walls green, blue, pink, purple. I would love to see like so many colored brick walls. Oh my god, somebody make a rainbow wall. Like that'd be so amazing, a rainbow faux brick wall. So like I said before, the command strips come right off the wall. You don't have to worry about damaging the paint, and this whole wall comes right off no problem. So it's not like it's a permanent fixture in your house that you won't be able to change up. So if you're trying to convince, your parents to let you do something cool in your room, like I said, if you follow all the safety tips that I really poorly explained, this is something that you can definitely do on your own or with parent supervision. I don't really know who I expect to be watching my videos, like 5-year-olds or 30-year-old moms. Either way, whoever you are, thanks for watching. So here on screen is a breakdown of all of the pricing. I overall ended up spending about $65 on this project, which is so cheap because if you went online and wanted to buy faux brick pieces already made, they're so expensive. I think they're about $50 a sheet, and I can't even imagine how many of those sheets would be needed to cover my wall. So the fact that this entire project was $65 was incredible. Again, the things that I already owned are going to affect the price of your project. If you don't own any of this, I could see this project costing a little bit closer to maybe $80, $90. Again, way more affordable though than if you wanted to buy this pre-made. And I can guarantee you that there's nobody out there selling a pre-made yellow brick wall faux piece. Maybe they are. I shouldn't be saying that because I really don't know. I didn't do that kind of research, but the point of this is that you can make it however you want, and it's completely uniquely you if you decide to do something like this. I don't know anybody else that has something like this, and I don't know, that makes me like, I don't know, that makes me feel so warm and fuzzy inside knowing that I did something unique. And I'm talking about like this is amazing.
I made bricks.
It's fun.
Alright guys, so let me know what you think in the comments. I really hope that you like it as much as I do, and I really hope that maybe it inspires somebody to do something similar, because that would be amazing if I found out that somebody else did this because I did. And if you do, absolutely send it to me. I would love to see it. So that's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.